From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
What's up, everyone? Fred Campagna and Emily Gagnon here.
What's up?
Woo! Oh, Fred, we got a smile from you and everything to get this joint started.
Yeah.
I think I need to get this started with a disclaimer, though, Fred.
What's that?
I told the people that Ellie Parker was going to be here today, and instead you're walking in. I don't know if Ellie wants to come say hi. She looks like she's busy. Yeah. It's election night here, so she doesn't have any fun tonight.
Yeah. Right.
No fun for Ellie. Okay. So, Ellie, you want to come say hi to the people? Yes.
Come on around.
Yes.
Come, at least enough time to say hi.
Yeah, come say hi.
God.
Hi. Okay, that's working.
All right, so we got a hi from Ellie to get the show started. She'll be back tomorrow. Today, busy night in the newsroom on election night. But I have Fred Campagna, which is, I mean, if I'm not going to get Ellie, Fred is just right there with her,
Thank you.
up there.
Super
upper echelon people here. So Atlanta United taking on Columbus Crew tonight, round one of the playoffs, match number 2. Atlanta was shut out last week in game 1. It's the best of 3 series. Any thoughts on this for you? They are going to start at 7 o'clock in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, let me just start with a little overarching thought on what is the MLS doing, spacing out these first-round matches so much.
So you don't like that?
Including a best of 3. There aren't any leagues really in the world, I think, that do this sort of a playoff format. So they're dragging things out, making it longer than it needs to be. I asked prior to us starting this, when was that game against the Crew that they lost? And none of us could really remember. Turns out it was, what, Wednesday?
That's a great point. That is a great point.
Right? It was 6 days ago. That's just too long between these first-round matchups. The home and home, it's kind of unique to soccer. You know, I like it. The away goals I like as well when they used, when that was part of the equation. Now we're just straight best of 3 with the games really spaced out. Having said that, I guess if United win tonight, then it's back to Columbus for the winner-take-all Game 3, which is kind of cool, right? Almada, Young Player of the Year in the MLS.
Yep.
Very cool. Saying that he wants to go play in Europe, not as cool.
And it's going to happen. Of
course it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. He was good for the Argentina side, so what
a season he's having.
Yeah,
though.
when you're his age, his skill level, you don't play in the MLS at that age and skill level generally. You can be close to that skill level and on the backside of your career and play in the MLS. Or even a little bit better than that, Lionel Messi. But yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of a downer as far as but you had to know it was coming, like you said. It just makes sense that he's going to be going. So we'll see. Atlanta United's been a little up and down so far this year. I actually really liked the way they were playing maybe a month and a half ago, and then since then it's been a little uneven.
Yep.
So hopefully they can get things together tonight.
So, yes, Thiago Almada, I don't believe that he'll be with the club much longer. He might do one more season, but like you said, he'll be out of there.
If it's his choice, he won't, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely a great point. You win the World Cup, and then you have a great season like you just did. Like you said, Young Player award yesterday, Young Player 2023 of the MLS.
Yeah, he was rumored for Ajax. That didn't happen, so some European team, though, is probably going to come scoop him up.
And I looked, Fred, just for your sake. So if Atlanta United does force a Game 3 back in Columbus, they'll play Sunday.
Is it before Thanksgiving? Oh, good, it's Sunday.
They'll play Sunday. So they'll play 5 days later. So maybe a little closer than Game 1, between Game 1 and Game 2, but still enough time for people not to care, and especially not on a Sunday during football season. I hate to say it, but it's true. But again, I don't think your NFL and MLS fans are the same.
No, and I think you can kind of dip in and dip out a little bit. Check on what's going on in the United game. And I think that fans will do that. I'm not sure Falcons, Browns, when those teams would play, because those would be the two fan bases. So maybe, I don't know if it's already scheduled for a time, if it were to happen on Sunday.
7 o'clock Sunday.
7 p.m. Sunday?
So that's better.
Right. So
that's
aside
better.
from Sunday Night Football, that's kind of an open window for them, for some people to see that game, if it does in fact happen. And I think that the MLS is probably rooting for a lot of these playoff games to get playoff series to get evened up tonight, right? Because they'd love to have those game threes, even though the fans are lukewarm at best on the format, and I know the players are less than lukewarm. They're ice cold on the format. They do not like it.
Yeah, and listen, at home tonight, I don't think Atlanta United's going to win this series, but at home tonight, they very well could pull it off. If they're going to win one, it's going to be tonight, since that place is going to be rocking like it usually is. They were shut out, though, last week. 2-0 Columbus, or 2-0, I should say. So do you have a feeling for how it's going to go tonight?
I actually don't. I don't have, I haven't scouted the crew to the point that maybe I should have in anticipation of coming up on ANF Plus Sports tonight. But I do know that the Eastern Conference has been jumbled for a good chunk of the season. There's not a ton of difference, I don't think, between the top of the conference, Cincinnati, right, and down to the lower playoff teams. So I do think that they can win a couple of games against the Crew and move on. And 2 months ago, I had the New England Revolution as teams to kind of watch going forward. When everybody was kind of having Miami mania, and before Messi got a little dinged up, and then it was like, okay, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I looked at some of the betting odds for both Atlanta United and New England Revolution, and they were both in that 15 to 20 to 1 range to win the MLS Cup.
Okay.
I don't know if either team is going to win the MLS Cup, but I do think that they could get on to the next round.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a thought for you, and I don't even know if you'll like my thought, but if Atlanta United does lose in this round, do you think there will be some movement, some changes, maybe in the front office, or manager Gonzalo Pineda obviously hasn't been there for the longest, but this club has done nothing but rotate managers in and out because they're just trying to get back to their winning days like they did in the first 2 years. Tata obviously brought them to winning a cup in the year two inception of the club, or like Carlos Bocanegra, the TD, because we know, you know, Garth Lagerwey is not going anywhere. He's the president and the CEO, and he just got there from, you know, one of the best clubs, if not the best club, other than Atlanta United, in the Sounders. So do you think that we could see that possibly?
I don't think so.
Okay.
My feeling on this season is that even though they're middle of the road as far as the conference goes and the playoff rankings there, so not a high seed, but I feel like it was a fairly exciting season.
Okay.
Very mixed reviews on the alternate jersey. That I think they're wearing those tonight.
You and these alternates.
I still don't know where I land.
You don't
on
love them.
You know, I know that the team sends you one of those jerseys. You know, when they do come out with them. They obviously haven't recognized that I'm a
we need to get on that.
frequent guest on ANF Plus Sports tonight.
Yes.
But size medium, just saying. So, you know, I love the City and the Forest jerseys.
Those were so cool.
Yeah, this alternate jersey, maybe not as much. But I do think it's been a pretty good year. It was incredible what they did. I know Messi didn't play, and I know they sold out the Benz because everyone thought Messi was going to be there. But it turned out to be one of the better games of the year and a really exciting game. And I think they brought some excitement back to the team this year compared to what they were a year ago.
And before we move on to the next subject, Yorgos Giacomakis, he also got recognized newcomer of the year in the MLS.
He needs a new nickname.
You don't, what, Gigi? You don't like it?
Well, Gigi's good. Gigi's fine. But I've seen the MLS Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, calling him the Greek freak of the MLS. And it's like, nah, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, Giannis already
Calm
says
down.
that. Come on.
Calm down.
Just spend 5 minutes. Come up with a better one.
Yeah, I agree with that. But, you know, for him, he you know, for being truly a newcomer to the team, he had a heck of a season. I think he was second in goals in the MLS this season. He brought quite a lot of excitement to the club. So we'll see with him, you know, too. You just don't know how long you can retain these guys, especially when they're not from the U.S., because they want to go play other places. All right, so that's at 7 o'clock in 20 minutes. Moving on. Moving on to football.
Dogs.
Getting ready for Ole Miss.
Right.
9-0 on the season. How are you feeling? I love getting. This is my favorite take I get from you because it's just like raw and you don't have like. You're not really attached, so I really like to hear this. So this week, do they make it out alive against Ole Miss? 7 p.m. kick from Sanford Stadium. 2 tough games left this week and next.
Yeah, so I would say loosely attached. It's hard after being here for 4 years to not be at least somewhat attached to this team. I do like the program. I do like the way Kirby runs it. I do appreciate the excellence. It's so hard to do what they've done, and you just wonder when will it
Next
end
year.
in terms of the
Next
streak,
year.
right? Like when will the streak end?
Yeah.
And the pressure builds a little bit, but then you start to get to late in the year, the games like this, and I thought if they were going to trip up, it might have already happened. So I do think that they should win this week. I think they will win this week.
Okay.
Another big injury on the defensive side, potentially for them last week, and then the Tennessee game is going to be very difficult, I think. But I like them this week.
Okay.
I don't think weather's going to be a big factor.
Good.
Cannot completely
I love to hear that.
Right. Can't completely rule out some rain, but right now it doesn't look like that'll be the case.
It's going to be chilly?
It'll be football weather.
Okay.
It's not going to be the 80 degrees that we've had for the last few days and we'll have for the next couple, but probably 50s to low 60s. So football weather. How are you feeling going in? Because I'm on the record from way back as probably the summer as saying that I did not think they were getting through the season unscathed, especially with the way they started the season.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I felt, when you and I talked about it, I felt the same as you did. Before the season started, I was like, oh, piece of cake. They're going to go undefeated. And then as the season went on, I just wasn't convinced because their performance was never as good as I wanted it to be. Their 2 convincing wins this season were against Kentucky and Florida. They've struggled against everyone else at some point. My favorite stat so far is that in their SEC games, in 5 of the 6 SEC games they've played this season, they've played from behind. The defense have allowed 3 straight opening drive touchdowns now, 4 total. And so you had USC, Vandy, Florida, and Mizzou. They all scored on the opening drive. So to me, they're putting the defense is putting the offense in a position where they have to obviously, come from behind. Which is not a problem yet because Carson Beck doesn't seem to have a pulse. And Kirby said it for so long now that he's so composed. And at this point, I believe it.
He's been under the radar a little bit, too. Like, there are some quarterbacks nationally that get a lot more attention than he does. But he's been so solid. They're so balanced all of a sudden offensively. They use the wide receivers. The running game's gotten going pretty well. They have used the tight ends that are filling in for Brock Bowers pretty well. So offensively, no issues. And I just keep thinking they've had their defensive issues. Like you said, that's hard to believe that they've given up first drive touchdowns. That's so unlike a Georgia defense.
Yep. Well, I went back. So, Fred, I went back. Okay, before the show, I went back to last season to see if they had given up any on the first drive all year long, all the way to the national championship. So I'm talking about every single game, and they gave up 1.
Wow.
All season long to the one team I did not even think of, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech scored on the Dogs in their opening drive in that game, but that only gave up 1 all season, and this year they've given up a total of 4.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
It's just, it's not a good trend, but
they're finding ways to win.
Right, and there are few teams in college football who can next man up like the Dogs can.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So there's just dudes after dudes after dudes coming out of that locker room.
Dudes
who
after
are
dudes.
Ready to play. Should be ready to play.
Yeah.
Kirby expects a lot out of them. Expects them to grow. He was talking about the guys that are coming in now to replace some of the injured players and how he just expects them to play well and to get better.
No drop off.
No drop off.
Yep.
That's it. So and they do still have some veteran players there, and I'm just kind of waiting on the defense to gel a little bit.
So am I.
Because it's not a bad defense.
Not bad.
It's just kind of a little bit better than average defense, or better than average defense, but we've just come to expect dominance for the last couple of years. So I don't know that they'll ever get to dominance this year, but I think that they can take better than average and make it into excellent.
They can do just enough to maybe, perhaps, win a third straight national championship.
That's it, though. I mean, really,
this year there's no one team that sticks out, right?
I feel like Michigan is probably the team, when you look at it, that's balanced like the Dogs are. Right, that have the ability to run the ball, throw the ball, have a pretty good defense. But Ohio State hasn't been incredible. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a freak, one of the best, I think, wide receivers that college football's seen in a while. Alabama's gotten it together, but they're sort of one-dimensional. Texas has injury problems, with Quinn Ewers, and they just eked one out against Kansas State, so we'll see if they get it done this week. But those are, when you start to look at your prospective 4 teams. FSU as well, also pretty balanced, right? Also,
I'm looking at FSU like that could be the one.
Yeah.
If you run into FSU, that's the team I don't want to touch.
I feel like that's the team we know the least about, though, right?
Yeah, or Washington.
What's their biggest? See,
Washington's got explosive offense.
I actually think Oregon's better than Washington, and if Oregon lost to Washington, I know, but it was in Washington and it was right. That was a
heck of a game. That was a heck of a game.
Right down to the end. So I do think Oregon's the better team. I think Washington would struggle against a team like the Dogs, and I just don't really know exactly what Florida State is just yet. I mean, they had trouble with BC.
Yeah.
With Boston College.
But you could say that, like, Georgia had some troubles against, like, Vandy. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, but not the same kind of trouble.
No.
Like Florida State had legitimate trouble against BC. BC committed so many penalties that cost them that thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the Dogs were slow out of the gate against Vandy. It was kind of like, what's going on? I think the team that really kind of scared the Dogs was South Carolina, having that lead. But even that evaporated. And by the end, that game wasn't.
The final score is never indicative of what's happened with Georgia throughout any game because, quite frankly, like I said, if they've played from behind in 5 of 6 SEC games and they finish with, the score that they've finished with, it's not like there's any. Well, I guess.
But you can make the case that that's the mark of a championship team, too.
Yeah.
To play your best for a while and then not have the end result be in doubt.
Yeah,
that's incredible. That in itself, and in the SEC. So I'm just saying about Florida State. We don't. Yeah. I think that's the we don't really know team.
And I will say, Fred, before we move on, I told Ellie yesterday that I thought, though, if the SEC championship game comes down to Georgia and Alabama, which that's right now is looking like what it will be, I feel like Alabama has improved more throughout this season than Georgia has. She did not agree, and I don't know if you would agree, but for me, I think Alabama from like game 1, 2, 3 has improved significantly more than Georgia has.
Yeah, true. But I would say that Alabama started at a much lower rung on the ladder than Georgia did, right? So maybe they started up here, then they went down, and since then they've been building back up, and now they're kind of this, running, smash mouth football team. Still don't know if the defense is that great for Alabama. So
I like their defense more than their offense.
Yeah, defense is all right, but it's not suffocating. It's not a top tier.
Say, Brett's over there. He can talk about Alabama's defense all day after what they did to Tennessee in that second half of the game.
Poor Brett. You sit within earshot of Sports Tonight, you're probably going to catch a ricochet.
Brett's like, on Saturday, Emily, I got you. He's going to cut me short on a hit. All right, let's move on to the Falcons. The latest with the Falcons. I have no words. Yesterday I talked about it with Ellie, but I want to get your take. I'm still talking about the fact that Josh Dobbs, Alpharetta High alum, went to Tennessee, which I think Brett probably loves. What he did to the Falcons was just demoralizing. He did not know his receivers' names. He came in like just a few days before from Arizona and marched into Mercedes-Benz Stadium like he had been there several times and did what he did.
I know. Have you seen the video of him practicing the cadence with the O-line?
On the sideline, yeah.
And then it's just a big coaching failure for the Falcons in that game, in my opinion, because Dobbs was basically like, okay, one read, and if it's not there, I'm going to look to run with it.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm just going to like make sure I'm kind of trying to get out of the pocket or whatever. And they were successful with that, which is amazing. Amazing that the Falcons, probably when you look at it, the worst thing that happened to the Falcons in that game was the starter getting hurt. Was Jaron Hall? Is that his name?
Yes.
Yes. Was the starter?
Jaron Hall, concussion protocol.
Yeah, was probably the worst thing to happen.
Early on, too. That was like maybe their first drive?
First start, even though his numbers weren't bad. I think it was like 6 to 7. But first start, eventually you hope you could make a kid like that a deer in the headlights. Josh Dobbs has been through so much in the last couple of years, coming in for the Titans, you know, starting a random playoff game, right? Didn't he? Or a game to get into the playoffs. I don't remember exactly. What was that?
Week 17 loser. Yeah.
Week 17 that would have gotten them in the playoffs. Down in Arizona, you know, up here to Minnesota. I don't think anything phases the guy anymore.
I mean, it wouldn't me, right? Like, at that point, you just have experience. You come in, you do what you do. You just have a feel for the game, right? And even though he might have been practicing on the sideline throughout, I just think it's amazing that he truly had no idea who he was throwing the ball to. And like you said, he would take off, get some chunks.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, though, what's the Bijan story?
What, him fumbling the ball?
No, just like the lack of usage.
Well,
15 times they tried to get him the ball on Sunday. 13 times they were successful. So that he was targeted 4 times in the pass game, caught 2 passes, and he had 11 rushes for like 50-something yards. Like,
I mean, listen.
What is going on?
I don't know that. I have a lot of questions about a lot of things with the Falcons and what's going on, including how Arthur Smith decided that it was time to finally shave his facial hair. I don't know if you saw yesterday in his press conference, but yeah, he's decided that the mustache had to go. So there are changes on the way.
Mustache isn't as good when you have a losing record.
And not to mention though, isn't it like November? You're not allowed if you're a man to like shave anything.
Oh, true. Yeah. So he waits until November to
right?
shave. An interesting choice there.
Yeah.
So combine that interesting choice with his choice to not really play the team's top draft pick, who was electric early in the season. I'm just thinking.
Do you think something's wrong with him?
Arthur Smith or just kidding.
Maybe both.
Yeah, right. Well, after I don't know if you caught Arthur Smith's quote about why Bijan. Someone asked about his usage, and he said, he can affect the game by not playing, which was. I'm paraphrasing, but that was effectively what the quote was, and it was like, "Whoa, that's some 3-dimensional chess you're playing there, Arthur." Let's
but that is why they're losing.
Yeah,
quite literally
right.
why
So,
you're losing.
I don't get it.
But we do have
Arthur
to talk
Smith,
about how
seat,
that. Go ahead.
The seat's getting a little bit warm for Arthur Smith,
his
right?
His butt better be on fire.
So,
right now.
if this team finishes 7-10, for argument's sake, right?
But they're going to win the division, the sorriest division in all of football this year,
they're not
and go
first
to the
place
playoffs
now at this point. So say they finish 7-10, don't make the playoffs.
Okay.
That could be it, right, for Arthur Smith. I mean, you usually don't get too long of a leash in the NFL.
It would be 3 years.
So why not play the Noah draft pick? Why not try to get Kyle Pitts more involved? We've been saying that for years now, but they got to figure something out and quick because they've let a couple of games get away. The defense looked great for a while. Last 2 games hasn't.
Bad.
Yeah.
And there's no way, and this is no disrespect to Grady Jarrett, because I mean he is like one of the best players I've ever covered.
Definitely.
And like the nicest guy. It can't be because he's injured that the defense isn't like.
No, it's just surprising to me that Dobbs was able to scramble and make some plays.
They were
with
like
his feet.
shook. The defense was shook. They were like,
yeah, but just spy him.
I think the whole team.
Put a spy on him.
Bijan has a fumbling problem though, Fred.
Yeah,
real life.
That doesn't.
That was a big pivotal moment in the game when he fumbled that ball.
Yeah,
Vikes recovered what they scored there. I think.
Yeah,
That
definitely doesn't go over big, and that's old school. There are certain coaches that just do that. It's like you put the ball on the ground, you're not going to play. You're not going to play.
But that was late in the game, though.
Yeah, so
that was the
we'll
fourth quarter, I believe, or going into the fourth quarter.
I think it's time to. My vote was to unleash Bijan.
I do have a question. Do you like the fact that they're sticking with Heineke Like, do you think, because it was announced yesterday that Heineke's the guy, that's who will start this week.
Yeah, I mean, you got the full Taylor Heineke experience.
Did you like
Sunday.
the experience? Was it,
It's
was
a
it a
ride.
memorable
It's a wild ride,
experience
I'll tell
for
you?
you?
That. I mean, you get the like mind-blowing, baffling interceptions, and you get the quick touchdown drives. So it's like settle on one or the other, dude. But
only one turnover. He turned the ball over once,
but
it was still pivotal. It was still pivotal.
It was pivotal. It was such a bad throw, such a bad read that it makes you wonder. Yeah, I still think you stick with them a little bit.
Okay, and how long do you give him? Like, what is this? Okay, let's. We don't have much time left, but I do have a question for you.
ahead.
Like, if they go to 1-8 not Carolina, the Cardinals this weekend.
Yeah.
The Cardinals have won one game all season. They go to 1-8.
The Cardinals had 58 total yards of offense against Cleveland.
Yeah, which
58.
they were shut out.
That's 3 plays against the USC defense.
Tell me, if they lose, what happens? Going into the bye week,
Yeah, you just go back to Ritter. I mean,
you go back to Ritter?
Because then you know Heineke's not the guy.
But you also know Ritter's not the guy either, right?
But you spend the last 5 or 6 weeks or 6 weeks this season, whatever it is, confirming your suspicion that Ritter's not the guy.
Do you draft
or
the
you
quarterback?
find out that, hey, he is making progress and he could be the guy.
Okay. Do you
he's
draft
not
a
the
quarterback though in the first round this year?
Depends on where you pick and who's available.
They
you do
need
have
a
some other
guy.
needs, but there's so many teams. I mean, skipping past the Hawks and to what's on my mind is just the quarterback play in the NFL and the lack of quality with it. Now that Rodgers is hurt and Manning's and Brady and like those, like there were Phillip Rivers, all those guys, even Eli, have all gone. Wow. I mean, so I don't know if the Falcons, with where they're picking, they'd be able to get the next guy.
All right. Enough on that. Hawks lose at Thunder last night.
Yeah.
They're 4-3 on the season, or 4-3. They're 4-3.
Yeah.
That's their start.
I mean,
lost the first two, went on to win 4 straight, then lost again last night.
Yeah, Thunder are pretty good.
They are.
Thunder are pretty good. Probably not a great matchup for the Hawks. Hawks had an impressive little run there.
They did.
The scoring efficiency was really good. DJ was looking great for a couple of games.
DeJounte was, yep.
Trey as well. So not a bad start to the season for the Hawks. Not a bad start. You're
feeling good about it? Feeling
yeah,
positive?
I mean, I think you have to be at least somewhat positive. Up until last night, they were 4-2. I think they were sitting at third in the Eastern Conference at 4. You're not even 10% of the way into the season yet, but better to get off to a 6-4 start than a 3-7 start, right? So they're on their way to a start like that, and they seem to be playing pretty well, I think.
What about your Celtics? Are you liking how they're starting the
Yeah,
season?
82-0 was on the table until last night, but then they lost up in Minnesota. So in overtime, just kind of gave it away to the Timberwolves. But the T-Wolves have been good at home. They blew out Denver at home, and so yeah, I mean the Celtics look great.
I have a real question for you. Do you watch
81-1.
every single Celtics game?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like seriously, you like turn on like from beginning to end?
Yeah. I mean, I do like. I'm the guy who likes regular season NBA basketball.
I love that. And do you have anything on your mind? Because you've got about 30 seconds to tell me.
Yeah, no, I was on my mind was this quarterback play and the fact that the Cardinals, who the Falcons are going to play this week, had 58 total yards. 58 in a game, Emily.
Yeah, 5-8 guys. But if the Falcons lost to the Cardinals, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't. You know what Lee told me today?
I'd be
Lee
shocked.
Smith, who's on the
I'd
show.
Be shocked. Well, it's going to be Kyler. That'll be interesting.
Right. And Lee told me, Lee said, Emily, I thought that loss against the Vikings over the weekend was worse than the Super Bowl loss. And talk radio, like sports talk radio around town, was saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I was saying that today, actually, that, who's it worse for? I'm a Patriots fan. Who's it worse for this year, to be a Patriots fan or a Falcons fan or a Giants fan?
Always,
I think it's worse for the Giants because they were in a playoffs last year. But the Falcons, there was a little bit of optimism, very weak division, and now you're just kind of handing a couple of games away to be 4-5. And it's like, it's the same old, same old.
It's
Patriots,
a struggle.
the expectations were pretty low in a very tough division. And, at this point, I'm hoping it's 2-15 for the Patriots.
All right, guys, we got to go. Thank you so much, Fred. I mean, amazing. You're always amazing. Your takes are the best. You guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya. Bye.